Welcome, everyone, to vpod.ai. Before we jump in, just a quick word about our sponsor. This deep dive is brought to you by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup disaster recovery, hyper-converged VMware, Hyper-V Proxmox cluster, AI servers, SA365, a turnkey security appliance, public and private cloud. You can check out stonefly.com for more info. All right, let's dive into a topic that's, well, it's really capturing a lot of attention these days. Vegan diets. We're going to explore what it really takes to not just survive, but, to genuinely thrive on a plant-based plate. We've gone through some really comprehensive material you shared with us today to explore the ins and outs.
Exactly. And it's true. The shift towards veganism has really seen a remarkable acceleration over the last decade. It's driven by a whole range of motivations, personal health aspirations, environmental concerns, ethical considerations, you name it. So our mission today is basically to distill the core insights from these materials, giving you a clear picture of both the, let's say, significant advantages and also the crucial planning involved for a truly well-designed vegan diet.
That's a perfect framing for our exploration. And, what immediately jumps out from the research you've put together are the health advantages. Like you said, this isn't just about cutting things out. It seems to be about adding some serious benefits. So for someone considering this, what's maybe the most impactful health perk that might truly motivate them?
Well, I think it's the sheer consistency of the evidence that's so compelling. The most immediate and, well, noticeable impact often revolves around the reduced risk of chronic diseases. For instance, our sources consistently link vegan diets to a significantly lower risk of conditions like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. And what really stands out, I think, is the data around blood sugar control, improved insulin sensitivity, and potentially reducing type 2 diabetes risk by as much as 78%. I mean, we're talking about real measurable differences here.
78% for diabetes risk. Wow. That's not just significant. That's transformative. And it's not just diabetes, right? I remember seeing other things like heart health markers mentioned.
Precisely. Yeah, beyond diabetes, these diets are also shown to help reduce blood pressure and both the bad LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol levels too. So when you consider those factors together, they can collectively lower your heart disease risk by up to 46%.
Almost half. That's huge.
It is. And the benefits actually extend further. There's a reported 15% lower risk of developing or dying from cancer. We even see potential for managing conditions like arthritis, reducing pain and joint swelling, plus improved kidney function and even a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease. In essence, it really supports improved longevity, enhances emotional well-being, partly through a healthier gut microbiome, and boosts overall fitness. It's quite a holistic approach to health.
It really paints a picture of comprehensive wellness. But like you mentioned earlier, it's not just about what it does for our bodies. When we expand our view, we see a much larger impact. What about the environmental footprint? I know many people are motivated by this, and your sources have some pretty eye-opening numbers there.
Well, absolutely. When we zoom out to the broader picture, our dietary choices have this, well, undeniable impact on the planet. For example, a plant-based diet generates only about 1/4 as much heat-trapping gas. It causes 75% less water pollution and uses 75% less land compared to diets rich in meat.
75% less land and water pollution. That's staggering.
It really is. And to put that in perspective for you, a typical plant-based diet uses about 4 square meters of land and maybe 400 liters of water daily. Now compare that to an average UK diet, which consumes around 16 square meters of land and 620 liters of water daily.
Okay.
So think of it like this. It's like taking a 52-minute shower versus an 80-minute shower every single day, just in water usage.
That really visualizes it. And the carbon footprint?
Right. The carbon footprint for a plant-based diet equates to about 1.5 kilograms of CO2, similar to driving maybe 6 miles, versus 4.7 kilograms of CO2 for an average diet, which is more like driving 19 miles. The difference is substantial.
Those comparisons really do hit home. So, okay, the benefits are clear, whether you're looking at personal health or the planet's health. But the sources you've gathered also make it really clear that, just jumping into a vegan diet without proper planning, well, that can lead to nutritional gaps. It's not just about what you remove, it seems, but how smartly you replace it. So for someone transitioning or maybe even a seasoned vegan looking to optimize, what are the core nutrients we need to prioritize? What needs the closest attention?
That's a crucial question, definitely. And the key insight here isn't just a list of what you might miss, but maybe to remember that these 7 nutrients are kind of your priority checklist for a thriving vegan diet. We're talking about vitamin B12, iron, calcium, vitamin D, iodine, zinc, and omega-3 fatty acids.
7 key ones.
Yeah. And without careful, thoughtful planning, inadequacies in these specific areas can indeed contribute to chronic conditions, things like anemia, osteoporosis, even neurological disorders. So the emphasis really is on making informed choices. Well planned is the key word.
Right, so the goal isn't just to avoid these deficiencies, but to actively make sure we're getting enough. What are the main tools or strategies we have? What helps prevent these nutritional gaps and support long-term health on a vegan diet?
Well, the first line of defense really comes from fortified foods. These are basically products that have had specific nutrients added back into them.
Okay, like cereals or plant milks.
Exactly. You should actively look for plant milks and yogurts fortified with calcium, fortified fruit juices, even some energy bars, and nutritional yeast, nooch, as some call it, and yeast extract are also excellent for boosting your B12 intake. Beyond that, supplementation becomes a practical and often necessary tool for many people, especially for those critical nutrients like vitamin B12, vitamin D, and iodine.
Right, so supplements are often needed then.
Often, yes. For example, the plant-based Eat Well guide suggests a 25 microgram G daily B12 supplement, or getting it through 3 daily servings of B12 fortified foods. For iodine, a 140 microgram daily supplement is often recommended. And for vitamin D, particularly in winter months or if your sun exposure is limited, a 10 microgram daily supplement of D2 or a vegan D3 is highly advisable.
That's really helpful practical guidance. Let's maybe dig into some specifics now, starting with bone health. When people think about calcium, dairy often comes straight to mind. So how do vegans effectively meet their calcium requirements, given that common perception?
Yeah, that's a common one, and it often surprises people. But vegans actually have the same calcium requirements as omnivores. Generally, it's about 1,000 milligrams MVU per day for adults aged 1950, and it goes up to 1,200 milligrams per day for those over 50.
Okay, so the need is the same. How do we meet it?
Well, the core takeaway for calcium is really to focus on a variety of sources. Fortified plant milks are great, yes, but also dark leafy greens. And some surprising powerhouses, too. For instance, just half a cup of calcium-set tofu can provide around 200 milligrams. A cup of cooked collard greens, kale, mustard greens, or turnip greens also offers about 200 milligrams. Even something like a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses packs 200 milligrams.
Blackstrap molasses. Interesting.
Yeah, and fortified almond milk, like you mentioned, just 8 ounces, can give you a significant 450 milligrams. Now, a quick but important note here. Naturally occurring compounds called oxalates. They're found in some greens like beet greens, Swiss chard, and spinach. They can actually bind to calcium and inhibit its absorption.
Oh, okay.
So while those greens are definitely healthy, they shouldn't be your primary calcium source. You need variety. And don't forget, high-protein plant foods like legumes and soy also seem to have a protective effect on bones. And vitamin D, as we mentioned before, is absolutely essential for your body to actually absorb the calcium you eat.
That's a great distinction about which greens to prioritize for calcium. Okay, let's talk iron. Iron is another nutrient that frequently comes up, right? There's this common perception that it's harder to get enough or maybe absorb it properly from plants. What is the latest research you found tell us about iron absorption from plants, and what's the best strategy there?
Right, and this is where things get genuinely interesting, actually. There's a new study highlighting that vegans may actually absorb significantly more non-heme iron from plants.
Non-heme, that's the plant-based iron.
Exactly. That's the type of iron found in plant foods, which your body absorbs a bit differently than the heme iron from animal sources. And this study suggested vegans might absorb more of it from things like pistachios, for example, compared to omnivores. It even found that the vegans in the study had equivalent, or sometimes even better, starting iron levels.
Really? That counters the common narrative a bit.
It does. So to truly maximize that non-heme iron absorption, the strategy is pretty simple but effective. Always combine your iron-rich foods. Things like legumes, chickpeas, lentils, spinach, nuts, seeds. That blackstrap molasses again, combine them with a good source of vitamin C.
Vitamin C helps absorption.
Absolutely. Think a squeeze of lemon juice on your lentils, maybe a side of bell peppers with your tofu, or some berries with your oatmeal. That vitamin C makes a big difference. Another sort of clever trick is cooking in cast iron pots and pans. They can actually leach a small, safe amount of iron into your food.
Huh, okay, good tip.
And importantly, be mindful of your beverage choices right around meal times. Natural compounds called tannins, found in things like tea and coffee, can inhibit iron absorption. So it's probably best to avoid drinking tea or coffee with your main meals. Maybe have them between meals instead.
Got it. Avoid tea with the spinach salad.
Pretty much. Iron is obviously a vital nutrient for everyone, but with smart planning like this, it's completely manageable on a vegan diet.
That's definitely reassuring news about iron. Now, let's shift our focus a bit to fats, specifically omega-3s. These are just so vital for so many bodily functions, right? Brain health, reducing inflammation. How do we ensure we're getting adequate intake on a vegan diet, since the primary sources people think of are often fish?
Right. We all need that essential omega-3 fat called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. Our bodies can't produce it, so we have to get it from food. ALA is the precursor to those longer-chain omega-3s, EPA and DHA, that get a lot of attention for brain and heart health.
Okay, so ALA is the starting point for vegans.
Exactly. So for vegans, the key is to consistently consume good sources of ALA. This includes things like ground linseed, which is just flaxseed, also chia seeds, shelled hemp seeds, and walnuts. These are the powerhouses for ALA.
How much are we talking about daily?
Well, for instance, just 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds or chia seeds, or maybe about 1/3 of a cup of walnuts daily, will provide a good baseline of ALA. It's also generally beneficial to moderate your intake of omega-6 fats, which are quite prevalent in things like pumpkin or sunflower seeds, and maybe favor cooking oils like rapeseed oil, also known as canola oil.
Okay, limit omega-6, focus on ALA sources. What about direct EPA and DHA?
Yeah, that's the next step. For direct EPA and DHA, especially during critical periods like pregnancy, breastfeeding, or even childhood, a microalgae supplement providing around 250 milligrams MJ per day is a highly reliable way to optimize those levels. Because realistically, direct dietary sources of EPA and DHA from plants are minimal. Algae is where the fish get it from, so we can go straight to the source.
Microalgae supplements. Got it. Okay, so bringing all of this together now, what does this look like for daily meal planning? It really sounds like thoughtful combinations and consistent choices are absolutely key. And speaking of consistency, protein is often a major concern people raise, particularly for athletes or anyone with a pretty active lifestyle. How do we structure meals to make sure we're getting all these elements right, the calcium, iron, omega-3s, and enough protein?
Yeah, this is where the rubber really meets the road, planning those meals. And the Plant-Based Eat Well Guide offers an excellent framework for this. It emphasizes whole, unprocessed foods. Lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. That's the foundation.
So focus on whole foods first.
Definitely. Your meal should ideally be built around starchy carbohydrates, and whole grain options like brown rice, oats, quinoa, whole pasta are always best. Pair those with at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables daily, though honestly, aiming for more is always a good idea. Variety is key.
And the protein, where does that fit in easily?
Well, for protein, you have just a wealth of diverse sources available. Think various beans, kidney, black pinto plus pulses like lentils and chickpeas. Then you have tofu, tempeh, seitan, and of course nuts and seeds contribute protein too. And for athletes specifically, your sources indicate that plant-based protein is absolutely on par with animal source protein for athletic performance and muscle building.
That's good to know. Any specific numbers?
Sure. Consider that just half a cup of tofu offers around 20 grams of protein. A cup of cooked chickpeas provides about 15 grams. So a good rule of thumb, maybe for muscle building or just feeling satisfied after a meal, is to aim for roughly 20-30 grams of protein per meal.
Okay, 20-30 grams per meal. That sounds achievable.
It is. So picturing a day. Breakfast might include fortified plant milk with oatmeal, maybe add a tablespoon of chia seeds and a handful of walnuts, plus some berries. That covers B12, omega-3s, fiber, and vitamin C. Lunch could be a hearty lentil and vegetable soup, maybe cooked in that cast iron pot for iron, served with some whole grain bread. And dinner, perhaps a stir fry with tofu or tempeh and lots of colorful vegetables, served with brown rice. You're hitting protein, various vitamins, minerals.
Right, it's about combining these elements through the day.
Exactly. And remember the other basics too. Choose unsaturated oils like olive or rapeseed oil in moderation. Prioritize whole plant fats like avocados and nuts. Try to limit highly processed foods and sugary drinks as much as possible. And of course, proper hydration is key. Aim for 6 to 8 glasses of water, plant milks, or even unsweetened tea and coffee daily. But maybe keep fruit juice limited to about 150 ml, as it's high in sugar.
That's an incredibly practical breakdown. It really shows how you can weave all these different nutritional strategies into, well, delicious and satisfying meals. So, okay, let's unpack this one last time just to summarize. We've seen that adopting a vegan diet offers some pretty incredible health and environmental benefits, but it absolutely requires mindful planning and smart choices. It seems you really have the power to make these choices work well for you, especially armed with this knowledge about fortified foods, targeted supplementation where needed, and focusing on a diverse intake of whole plant-based foods.
That's exactly right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, successful vegan diets aren't really about rigid restriction at all. They're much more about informed, strategic eating that can actually be quite empowering, knowing you're covering your bases. And it's always worth remembering that individual needs do vary widely. So, considering a consultation with a registered dietitian, that can be incredibly beneficial. They can help tailor a plan perfectly for you, especially if you happen to have specific health conditions, or maybe increased nutritional requirements, like athletes or during pregnancy.
Excellent point about personalization. Well, that was a genuinely insightful deep dive into the nuances, the pros, and the planning involved in plant-based nutrition. Thank you for joining us on this journey today to becoming more well-informed. And finally, just a special mention from our sponsor, Stonefly. You might want to consider their 100 TB immutable and air-gapped SSO NAS, currently available for $8,995. You can find out more details at stonefly.com. So as you consider your own plate in the coming days, maybe think about the powerful ripple effect of your choices, not just for your personal well-being, but potentially for the wider world around us too. What small, informed step might you take this week?